Chapter 7, is the New Testament reliable? So we know where Scripture comes from, but how do we know what we have today is what we had long ago? A lot of people think the Bible was written, passed along like the phone game. One person says one thing, someone else hears what that is but interprets it differently, says it differently to the third person, and so on, until at the very end, it doesn't make sense and it isn't what the first person said. The phone game is not how Scripture was passed through time. In fact, it was written down in one book and then sent off to a church. That church, instead of just reading the book and sending that off, would make 5 copies, and then those 5 copies would be distributed. And then those 5 churches that got those would each make 5 copies that would be distributed. And then those churches would make 5 copies that would be distributed. As a matter of fact, as of today, we have over 5,000 manuscripts and fragments of manuscripts that go back to the New Testament. The oldest universally accepted fragment of the New Testament was found in Egypt in 1920. It is from John's Gospel and is dated AD 125 to 130. If John wrote his Gospel shortly before 70 AD, then the span between writing and the copy is 60 years or so. If John wrote the book around 80 to 85 AD, then the span is 50 years or less. If we look at other ancient texts, something like the Iliad, the oldest known copy we have is 500 years after it was written. And at that, we only have 643 manuscripts. If we look at Aristotle and his writings, the oldest known copy we have from him is 1100 to 1400 years later. And with that, we only have 49 copies of any one book. From Plato's book, we only have a manuscript from 1300 years later, and at that, we only have 7 copies. Is the New Testament reliable? We can go through these manuscripts and compare, find errors, and correct those errors across the 5,300 manuscripts that we have from the ancient world. On top of those manuscripts, we have thousands more translations from the ancient world, not to mention quotes from the early church fathers that you could reassemble the entire New Testament just from their quotes. Is the New Testament reliable? Is what we have today what they had way back when they first wrote it? The only answer could be yes. But does that extend to the Old Testament? We'll talk about that next week.